This is the first 10 minutes of an interview with Marcello Rollando of The Reasonable Voice on the Daniel L. Garner Pattern Method, a new way for making music that unleashes you to make your kind of music. For the whole interview, please check out Mr. Rollando's website, where you can also get up to speed on some of the most pressing issues facing the world today in politics, education, and the arts.
Our reasonable voice today is Daniel L. Garner, who, with Michelle Garner, is the co-creator of O.G. Rose. While attending the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia, O.G. Rose encompassed several years of working collaboratively with other artists at Unoya, a creative community O.G. Rose helped develop. Daniel and his co-creator Michelle now live on a farm, while also managing Mead Lake Lodge, a wedding venue. Daniel also owns and operates Frozen Glory Photography and teaches piano using visuals from the DLG Pattern Method, all while being a finalist for the 2020 UNO Press Lab Prize and 46 Pushcart nominee. The collaborative creative work of O.G. Rose appears at the Write Launch, Ponder Review, Iowa Review, the William and Mary Review, Toho, Ellipsis, Quadra Review, and Open and Broken Pencil. You can find their work at both ogrose.com and dlgpm.com. Well, Daniel, it took a global pandemic to keep us apart, so how are you, Michelle, and the family doing these days?
Oh, we're doing well, Marcello. Thank you so much for having me on. Well, the three kids are good. We've got some of the garden planted with tomatoes. Somebody's got to feed the deer, I suppose, and you'll see if we can keep them out with coffee grains. But we're starting to get back into the swing of things at the wedding venue. We had one this weekend. The rain held off. That was good. But it's interesting. The pandemic's been an opportunity. Obviously, it's been devastating, but there's also been some chances to finish up some projects, some writing projects, to get some submissions out, to do some work on the pattern method. We've been trying to make the best of it. Again, operating a wedding venue during a pandemic can be a challenge, but we try to acknowledge the ways the sky is still blue.
I can imagine. I mean, wedding days are challenging for anyone. I just don't know how you did it. Did people get married with masks on?
I tell you, well, a lot of the ceremonies were outdoors, and frankly, a number of ceremonies had to be rescheduled and moved around. But as you started to get this time of year where now there's the outdoor, you can have more people, you can have less mass. So you have the ceremonies outdoors, then you change things indoors, you set up tables outside best you can. So you work with it, figure it out. I mean, I think the key is if you're not panicking, I mean, you just don't want to give off an aura of panic or problems, and that can comfort people, and we just get it done. We make it happen. And bride yesterday was just very, very pleased and happy. So we're working on through it.
Excellent. Okay, within the context of our new series here, tell us when you created your Daniel L. Garner Pattern Method.
When I got to college, I'd always wanted to learn piano, but couldn't play a note. And I found this old piano in the basement of Old Cabell. And I was just sort of playing around with it and looking and trying to figure out what sounded nice, because sounding nice was the low bar I was trying to meet at that time. And I said, oh, it looks like there's almost kind of like patterns. There are these L's, there are these upside down L's. And for me, in being a visual person, discovering a way to play within visuals, because I realized that if you locate one of these L's, you lock yourself in, you're then liberated to play all day long. And what was nice about it, too, is that enabled me to build confidence on the piano, because sometimes I think when you introduce sheet music or particular songs you want to learn too early, there's then a standard against which you can fail. But when you learn to improvise and riff first, then you build your confidence, and then you can introduce songs, and you don't get discouraged. You just keep going. So I guess when was that? 2009, I think, Marcello, is when that all started.
So it was not caused by a need to try something else because of COVID. You had this up and running a good deal before COVID. Is that?
Oh, sure. And
saying?
to clarify, for me, I taught myself the piano using that. And then frankly, for like 6 years, I didn't think anything about it, because I guess I just assumed everyone learned piano that way. And then I showed it to a friend, and they were like, oh, wow. And they really liked it. And that's when it started to occur to me that it was really nice, but that it could help people. But it was definitely the case that with COVID, that there were a lot of people who were very interested in kind of looking for ways to use COVID to explore new avenues. If you're stuck at home and you can't go out. And so that's when we just recently had with Indie Thinkers, they were interested in doing a workshop, which we had a lot of people attend that were just super excited. That was neat. I had some other events in the summer and different things. So it has certainly been under COVID that there's been a lot of people who, because the other thing with the method is it helps you engage in piano therapy, is what I'll call it. The ability to just sit down at the piano and play for hours, because as long as you stay within the pattern, you can play all you like. And it was neat to see how people enjoyed that and to have that kind of way to have release during these times.
Well, as I learned about the pattern from you just before COVID, that's what I was thinking, how terrific it would be to have something like this. I had a friend in New York sent me 30 songs before COVID started. What can you do with this? Can you make a musical? And I was so busy. And then COVID hit, and I wrote the book to the musical to be able to find some kind of silver lining. It's a good thing. The arts, I think, always do that for us. The problem was, generally in the past, our history, the arts that helped the most was being able to go out, go to movies, and go to see shows. And that all of that, of course, stopped abruptly. So how exactly is your Garner Pattern Method different? And how does that difference impact on music lovers at all levels, it sounds like?
Oh, no, it's a great question. I would say, first off, so a lot of people want to learn an instrument. I think it's one of the big desires, one of the big regrets people have is they never learned an instrument. And yet very few people actually do. And so there's kind of a question of why is that? Why do so many people want to learn an instrument, but they don't, or they start and they get discouraged? And one of the main reasons is because they don't, like we were talking about music confidence. They sit down and it feels like a massive mountain to climb in order to learn the piano or to learn the instrument. You've got to learn, you feel like you have to learn sheet music. You feel like you have to learn all the chords. You feel like all of the time signatures, all these different things. And then you just take a deep breath, kind of a big sigh, and you say, well, I guess I won't be able to do it. And then that's that. But the key with the pattern method is by simply making it these visual patterns. And all you have to do is stay in the L. It's much less complex, and that you can improvise and play all day long. And so then people sit down, and it probably takes about a week, say, to learn one of the patterns. There's a pattern for every key. There's the long L for G, the two L's for D. I can go on, and all that can be found on the website. And once you learn one of these, then you can just play. So the big thing is, one, it helps you build music confidence, which then if you want to go and learn sheet music, if you want to go and learn particular songs, you most certainly can. But also, very importantly, you're free to make your own music. And also to riff off of other songs. One of the things that some of the students say that they really like is the feeling that they don't feel stuck. They don't feel bound. They don't feel like whatever the song is they're trying to play, they have to just play that. They can improvise off it and riff and then go into their own music all they like. So first, it builds music confidence. Two, it makes you feel like you're not stuck. Three, it introduces a visual method as opposed to just something more involving numbers or things like that, which for a lot of people who are right-brained, that's going to open some avenues. And then four, it really helps you create your own music. Like if you want to produce your own songs or different things, as I was mentioning before, it really opens that door because, like, for example, let's say you're trying to write a song and you're looking for a chord progression. Well, that can be hard sometimes because you have 3/4, you have to count, where does it go? Well, as long as you're any combination of piano keys within a pattern will be a chord. And so it's really helped some of the artists, the musicians I know, really quickly create new chord progressions that have helped them make new songs. So it's an avenue, I would say, for music lovers that opens up all those different doors.
You've mentioned several times in your answer, there's an L for this and there's an L for that, a large. Maybe we better explain, well, first of all, and we will do this several times to make certain everyone knows how to reach out and learn more, but what is the website where one can go and see those L's? They might even, as they're listening, want to check it out. What's the website?
Oh, that would be excellent. dlgpm.com. The letter D, the letter L, the letter G, PM.com. And that stands for the Daniel L. Garner Pattern Method. You can also find on YouTube, if you look up DLGPM, all sorts of videos. It can be difficult, I fear, to talk about a visual method on an audio. So, so if people, want to check out the L's, that would be a really good way to see them.
Yes. And if they do that, one of the wonderful things about a podcast is that you can stop and do that. And I'm sure between us, we'll supply a slideshow for the broadcast.
Excellent. Yes.
I wonder, it's not just for piano, right? How can you apply it to other instruments? And name some of them for us. Tell us.
So any instrument that has kind of a keyboard structure, like take a xylophone. If you can use the L's on the xylophone, you can use the L on the accordion, you can use it on the organ, any of those kind of instruments, you'll be able to do it. And the other thing we've been working on is there actually are L's on cellos and violins and the string instruments. Now, to do those, we're trying to make some slips that go on the fingerboards. So that's a little further down the road, but you certainly can use this on, I've got a lot of people who like making beats, who have an electric piano and they're like a beat maker who love to use the L for that. So any instrument that has that keyboard structure, you would be able to use the method for.
Okay. The next question I really wanted to ask is, what are these L's and how do they fit? Let's stick with the piano for now. How do they fit on the keyboard?
This has been the first 10 minutes of an interview with Marcello Rollando of The Reasonable Voice on the Daniel L. Garner Pattern Method. For the rest of the interview, please check out the description, and thank you for your time.